Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. So I had to make some adjustments to my mic. I was making a couple of rookie mistakes, so I'm still a work in progress with the mic, but thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for NYY Recaps for the insight as to certain components of this mic, which you have, and thanks for recommending it as well. It's a phenomenal mic, and I'm really happy to have it as part of the channel now, and I'm just waiting on that really cool backdrop, and then we'll have things moving a heck of a lot nicer. But I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is if I were the Yankees GM, if I were Brian Cashman, what would I do this offseason? And, just based on what we know and, what might happen and stuff like that. What we don't know is what the season is actually going to look like. Now, I know there's talk about starting spring training on time, and it looks like it's probably going to happen, but that also happened last year too. And then things kind of condensed from there. So would I be surprised if it condensed again? No, I would not. Do I think it will be another 60-game season? No. I'm still unsure as to whether it will be a 162-game season. I'm of the opinion that it should not be under these circumstances because vaccine rollouts have been pretty poor right now. And we need to make sure that everybody has access to it. And who knows? I mean, I said this in another video, they may, require you to verify that you were vaccinated before they let you buy tickets for a game. I mean, who knows what they're going to do during this transition period. But I think it's important that at the very least everybody has access to them prior to attending these games. But I'm also of the opinion that, protecting players from injury, and what I mean by that is going from 60 to 162 games that's a tough one, okay? That's and particularly for pitchers, and I'm going to elaborate in this video on that a little bit today. It's a little tough, and particularly, and again, we don't know. Obviously, players will have been tested and stuff like that. Will probably be one of the first people to be vaccinated, and they'll be okay, but the transition back into a regular season is my kind of bigger concern. And right now we are, we're about 5 weeks from the start of spring training, the expected start of spring training, where pitchers and catchers report, and free agency is like not even 5% of the way through. So once this resolution happens, things are gonna be frantic. There's going to be teams going left and right, making moves because they have to before spring training starts. So that's why I wanted to kind of play mock GM today, because last thing I would want is to be uber patient, and then the guys that you have on your list are being gobbled up here, gobbled up there because everybody's moving fast, and you're not, because we're waiting on one player to make a decision. So this is what I would do. Okay. Number one, I would obviously try to resolve the DJ Lemahieu situation. Now, what we know currently is that he's looking for 5 years, between $20 and $25 million a year, and he has the right to ask for it. He's deserved it. He does deserve it. So he's more power to him. The Yankees seem to be stuck at about 3 years, right? I don't know, $60 million or $65 million or something like that. So what I would do is reach the compromise point, which would be 4 years. I don't think anybody's going to get him for less than 4 years. And there's higher probability than it was before that he might get 5 from somebody. I personally would not go 5, okay? But it might be a 5th-year option. Who knows? But I would say, okay, here's 4 years, okay? And give him, I don't know, between $90 and $100 million. That's what he's going to get regardless. So might as well give him what he's going to get, but on your length. And I would say, look, here's 4 years. I would put a hard deadline on it and say, look, we love you, DJ. We want to have you back, but we have a team to build here. So we need to know whether you want to stay with us for this contract. And if not, we understand. Wish you best of luck and so on and so forth. Put a hard deadline. If he says no, we wish him well, and we pivot really quickly and start to address other needs. Because whether he signs or not, the needs remain the same. Okay? And it's not going to change, but his, and I think one of the reasons why people are waiting on everybody is DJ LeMahieu is going to kind of dictate how a lot of other contracts are given out. He's one of the players that's going to dictate these things, and so and I don't think the Yankees want to outbid themselves, just like the Mets do not want to outbid themselves for like a guy like George Springer. So I get that logic on both sides. So what I would give him the 4 years, a hard deadline, and if he says yes, wonderful, we move forward. And if he says no, thanks so much for you, and we wish you well, and pivot really quickly. Because the other thing we know right now is there's about $35 million of cap room before you sign DJ, and which he would take more than half of it. So we have about $35 million to stay under the $210 million threshold before they start paying luxury tax and stuff like that. So it does not leave a lot of room. So there's some maneuverability that's available. And what I would do as a GM is if it didn't happen with DJ, I would pivot immediately and call Cleveland and try to swing a trade for Francisco Lindor. The fact is right now with the Darvish package and the Blake Snell package, Padres got both of them, and the best prospect they gave up was their number 3 prospect. And as well as a bunch of other marginal prospects. So the package for Lindor is not going to be a king's ransom. It would have been last year, but it's not going to be this year with 1 year of control. Those guys had 3 years of control, and that's what they got in return. So the Lindor package is going to be very reasonable. I would imagine it's going to be favorable for the Yankees. So, in my opinion, there's a couple of ways I would do it. One, I would try to headline a package with like a Miguel Andujar and a pitching prospect. The Indians need offensive help, but they need positional help on the infield and the outfield. His bat has proven now; he's proven to be healthy again, and his bat's back. He's shown it in the Dominican League, so it would give them offensive help. But he also has 4 years of control, so it also achieves the goal for Cleveland to lower costs or keep payroll down. Okay. And then you offer a pitching prospect in return, too, like a Luis Gil or something like that. He's got a big arm. I know he's had command problems, but he's actually shown some things. He's actually impressed some folks this offseason and shown kind of an improvement to his repertoire, so making him a much more appealing option. That's all I would go. Forget about Davy Garcia, Schmidt. I hang up the phone if they ask for either one. Okay? That's it. Okay? Or my other package would be, and this might not be as popular for some people, but I would try to headline a package with Aaron Hicks, okay? In my opinion, I like Aaron Hicks, but in my opinion, he's easier to replace than DJ LeMahieu is, okay? And he would bring great value. Over there, he's under control for about $10 million a year for the next 5 seasons, so he's giving Cleveland payroll reduction because you're going from 20 or 30 with Lindor to 10, and you have a reliable center fielder for the next 5 years and don't even have to worry about it. Switch hitter, he's been known to be clutch too. Maybe a good addition. And you add a pitcher or Luis Gil to him. Okay? And that's all I would go. But that also gives the Yankees a little bit more cap relief. So if they don't sign DJ and they trade for Lindor, those salaries kind of offset themselves right now in 2021. But then you get an additional 10, instead of only being 10 or 15 million dollars left over the cap by moving Hicks, would be back to 20 to 25 million under the cap, which gives us room to address other things, mainly pitching, which to me is the bigger need this offseason. A lot of it. And if that doesn't work out, if you can't swing a train for Lindor, then plan C, in my opinion, is to go out and move Gleyber Torres to second and go get an Andrelton Simmons. At the very least, he's not going to move the needle offensively like a Lindor would or a DJ would, but he's a defensive whiz, okay? And the fact is our pitchers need defensive help in the infield. Torres is better defensively at second. We'd still have VOIT at first, okay? We'd have Gio coming back, playing third. So we have a better defensive infield that way, okay? And again, our offense, we can easily replace or improve on Simmons' offense. Whatever we get from him is what we get, but he would make the infield defense a heck of a lot better, and he would not come at a really, really high salary. So that would kind of be my tiered plans for the DJ LeMahieu shortstop second base situation. At that point after that, I'm looking at my baseball book, I would look for a trade for Aroldis Chapman. Yes, he's been our closer. He's been dominant actually for the 4 years that he's been here. And he's got about a 2.8 ERA over those 4 years, which is Josh Hader-like. It's at that level, but the problem, and much to the frustration of a lot of Yankee fans, is he's given up a lot of poorly timed hits and home runs. But the fact is, I think we could replace him if we found a taker for him, which would free up another $15 million, and then we'd be able to go after like a Hendricks, Liam Hendricks, and a Brad Hand. We can even bring in both of those guys if possible, or a Brad Hand and a Trevor Rosenthal, or Archie Brett. Like, there's so many. This is a deep relief market, and if we could bring in 2 guys, that would be really, really good. So some of the teams, Minnesota Twins need a closer. Okay, they've been lacking on the bullpen side. He can go in there and give them dominant innings, plus being probably a lot less pressure packed environment. He might be a better fit there as well. Even though he's been fine with the Yankees, but I think he'd help dominate. He'd significantly improve their bullpen. And the other fit was the Dodgers. To me, he's a fit to replace Kenley Jansen, who is on a steep decline. Okay, steep decline. So he would go in there, complement the rest of that ridiculous bullpen they already have, and even though they have the assets or the cash to bring in other guys, he has a couple years of control left, and you could just plug him in and not have to worry right now. But I could still see them bringing in a Hendricks or some other guys too. So those are my 2 team fits. There are other team fits, but I think those 2 are the best team fits, from my opinion, for Chapman. And again, freeing up, and then it puts the Yankees, you could potentially put the Yankees at $40 million now under the cap, which gives them more flexibility to address relief pitching and starting pitching. Okay, I would also look to upgrade with a super utility player. I have 2 guys in mind. Okay, number 1 is Cesar Hernandez, former Philly and a couple of other teams, but he's an upgrade over the backup infielders that we have, like Tyler Wade and Thiago Estrada. And the way I see it too is with him, you bring in him and then you let those other 2 guys move on, or you use him as part of a trade package or something. You're clearing up 2 roster spots to fill up one, so you have an extra spot which you can use for one of your young pitchers or one of your young outfielders, like Esteban Florial, to back up the outfielders that we have, or something. Give one of the young guys a chance, okay, while keeping the payroll down. And again, he's an upgrade defensively and mostly offensively over what we currently have. Mike Ford as well. Okay, those guys had good 2019s, but they regressed in 2020. Even though a lot of guys regressed, but I don't see them getting as many opportunities. And again, if you have one guy who can do what multiple guys can do, I go that route, and be honest with you. And the other guy I have is Tommy Lastella. He would be my first pick because he can play infield and outfield. And again, it leaves up the flexibility for maybe to include Mike Tauchman in a trade package. And apparently, a couple weeks ago, a lot of teams are interested in Mike Tauchman. So it gives us the maneuverability to move Tauchman if we need to as part of a package for somebody else. And again, he can play infield and outfield like a Jerkson Profar. So it gives the outfielder some relief, it gives the infielder some relief, and you can use the guy. You can play him 100-plus games, and it will give a lot of these guys a chance to get a day's rest every 5th day or every 4th day to keep some of the players healthy, in particular our younger guys or the bigger guys like Aaron Judge. So it gives us versatility. Plus, Tommy Lastella is a good lefty hitter, good solid contact hitter. So if we don't bring a DJ back, we replace him with another contact-type hitter, okay, who's been clutch. And again, he gives the lineup balance, and the fact that he's a good contact hitter and is consistent like DJ is, to me, it's addition. So it's a good way of replacing DJ's production. Even though you might not be as good of a hitter as DJ, we're still getting good value back. Particularly if you get him and a Lindor or him and a Simmons, we'll be in good shape. Okay. And last but not least, obviously, be addressing. I mentioned before the bullpen. I would bring in any combination of a Brad Hand or a Liam Hendricks or a Trevor Rosenthal or an Archie Bradley. If I can bring in one from each side, I'd be pretty happy. I think that'd be a really, really good idea for the bullpen, particularly since we don't have much reliable starting pitching beyond Garrett Cole. So, and I've said this in other videos too, it doesn't matter how elite your bullpen is. If they're overworked, they're going to get tired. So, and which leads me to the last point was starting pitching. We need some reliable innings eaters. Now, Corey Kluber is going to be throwing for teams in about a week or so, and we'll see what he's like. And if you can get a good amount of what he was before as a reliable innings eater, I would bring him in. He would not cost a ton, but he also is a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, and you can bring him in on a 2-year deal probably. And then I would look to trade, and I mentioned this in other videos too, for a Joe Musgrove or a Marco Gonzalez. I think we need at least 2 reliable innings-eating starters, okay? Because I don't think Tanaka's going to come back. And the fact is, as much as I like Tanaka, he's shown this past year he can throw 6 innings, and then the next game he'll go 2 innings and give up 7 runs. The ability to throw 6 on the regular is not there anymore, and we need guys who can offset that to also give the bullpen a little bit of a breather too. We can't have the bullpen throwing 5 or 6 innings every single game or every other game. It's not a recipe for success. Okay, and again, look for these guys to trade. Now I want to go over some pitching stats, just because I'm of the opinion too, and I mentioned this before, that I think a 6-man rotation would be a good idea this year if they're playing a 162-game season. Just for the reason of transitioning pitchers back to full volume. I do not think it's a good idea having players who threw 70 innings last year going to 200 this year. They develop the young pitchers and the prospects. They generally don't go more than 40 or 50 innings per year. I'm of the same opinion. So I prefer a 120-game season as a transition year back to 160. But we know the fact that revenues have been crushed, and if there are no fans, there's no parking, there's no concessions, there's no ticket sales. So it's an economic disaster. So I think there will be some gradual increases in fans over the years, but this is a year to me to be a transition year in terms of particularly with pitching. So let me just give you some stats here. Garrett Cole threw 200 innings in 2018, and then went 212 in 2019, and then went 73 last year. There is no way I'm going to have him go back up to 200 innings in 2021. No way. It's just, to me, it's a recipe for blowing out the arm. Okay? Hence the 6-man rotation, which could allow guys like Garrett Cole to maybe throw 150 innings, right around there, and then transition back to a full season in 2022. Jordan Montgomery threw, because of Tommy John, threw 4 innings in 2019, 44 in 2020. Again, low numbers, right? There's no way I'm going to have him throw 160, 170, 180 innings as a member of the starting rotation. And I know they want to bring him back they want to have him as part of the rotation, even if he's a number 5. So that's 2 guys right now. The next 2 guys, Luis Severino threw 19 innings in 2018 because of injuries. He threw 12 innings, in 2019. 191 innings in 2018, but then the injuries came in 2019. 12 innings, and he had Tommy John surgery, threw 0 innings last year. Not on any planet would I have him go 170 innings this year. No planet, okay? Domingo Germán threw 143 innings. In 2019, 0 last year. Didn't miss it because of injury, but missed it because of being suspended. But again, I'm not going to have him go from 0 to 180 innings or even 140 innings. No way. So another guy's trade candidates, Marco Gonzalez, threw 166 in 2018, 203 in 2019, 69 last year in the abbreviated season. There's no way I'm going to have him go. 150 would be an ideal for me. Okay, Joe Musgrove from the Pirates threw 115 in 2018, 170 in 2019, 39 last year. Okay, the most I go with him is 100. Okay, Luis Castillo, the ace from the Cincinnati Reds, prime train candidate. 169 innings in 2018, 190 in 2019, 70 last year. All right, Carlos Rodon, free agent target. 120 innings in 2018, 34 in 2019, 7 last year. So again, a lot of these starters, and like not some of the guys that were there last year, I would still transition them back up to maybe 150 tops, but like some of these other guys who threw hardly innings, like Rodon, Severino, Germán, I would have them transition this year. They could be long relief guys and throw 4 innings or 5 innings at most, and let them transition back to a full year, which also gives the bullpen protection, but allows us to actually have a 6-man rotation with some protection in long relief for some of these starters who want to come back, and the bullpen, which we reinforce too. So I wanted to give you these numbers because I wanted you to see how little they threw. How little some of these guys threw last year and the year prior. To me, it would be a disaster to have them go back up to full capacity next year. It's just, I could see a lot of Tommy John cases after next year or during next year. So that's what I would do. I would bring in at least 2 starters, but potentially more than that to give the rotation depth. We had 9 or 10 in the beginning of the season last year, and we were down to like 3 because of injuries. So the more depth, the better on the pitching side, particularly this year. So that's what I would do as the GM of the Yankees. My next video, I'm going to talk about a blockbuster trade that the Yankees should make, and that would address a lot of needs too. And I think you'll like that video. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit that notification next to it so you don't miss the video. Always take a look in the description down below for recent videos. And again, I appreciate all your support and all your help. And may our 2021 be much better than our 2020. I'll talk to you next time, guys. All the best.